Welcome to Vinny Mike, episode 40. Mike's back from Cleveland.
The big 4-0, ladies and gentlemen. The big 4-0.
How are you, Mike?
How are you, Vin? Good to be back.
After getting back from Cleveland, I ain't feeling good. We'll get into all that in a little while.
We'll get into all that, my friend.
Vin and Mike, KKFI, Kansas City. How you guys doing out there? The Pigskin Podcast Network. How you guys doing over there?
What's
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Week 2 in the books, Mike. Crazy week again. You got to love the NFL.
Yeah, and before we get into that, just want a couple of announcements real quick. Our good friend from E-Trade, Kristen McCarthy, one of the nicest people you'll know, had a baby girl this weekend, baby Evelyn. Welcome to the world. I think she's going to be a Giants fan. I think that's what her husband is, if I'm not mistaken. So,
well, hopefully the kid flips somewhere during her time growing up and comes to the dark side of the force.
So congrats to her and her family. And also a former guest on the show, Mr. John Codman. Happy birthday, buddy. And a nice 9.5 point spread win by his Green Bay Packers. So
yeah, and one of our remaining survivors in the suicide pool there on DraftKings.
We are down to 5.
5 left, and he's one of the 5. You know,
yes.
He's excited about that. So hopefully that all goes well. And there he is saying hello. Let's show Mr. Codman there. Bring him on. There he is. Well, hi, guys. We'll throw him right up there on our YouTube page. So there's Mr. Codman and his Packers, who looked really, really good Sunday. So really a lot of fun stuff. But I think everybody's been asking, Mike. We've had people tweeting and texting and calling, and everyone's asking you and myself, of course, but they're asking you, what's Vinny thinking about his Raiders? And I'm going to go right into it here.
Can I say something real quick?
What?
So, listen, I was scared to actually communicate with you after that. As a matter of fact, I told Dan, I go, maybe I shouldn't. I don't think I'm going to talk to Vinny till Tuesday. And someone actually said to me, do you think like Vinny's throwing shit at the TV right now? Like, what is his reaction to that game right now? Like, what is he doing after what happened? Like, what was his reaction? But I'll have you do the honors and talk about that game. I was at the bar in Cleveland watching it. I couldn't believe my eyes because it seemed like they had so many opportunities to win that game, and they just gave it away to the freaking Cardinals. So, please.
Well, we know the NFL itself is just nuts, right? I mean, you see all this crazy stuff happening week to week. We talk about the parity and all that. It's just fantastic part of the NFL. But the big problem here with the Raiders is this is a team that shows some life every year towards the end, gets to the playoffs. They've done this a couple of times in the last 5-6 years, and then just completely doesn't have any momentum moving forward. And that's, again, I've been a Raiders fan for a very long time. And a long time is that I watched them win their last Super Bowl in 1984, the 1983 season, 1984. So we are now a tremendous amount of decades later, and it's just terrible football over the last 20 years. And that's really what it is. And at 20-0 at halftime, I felt really good.
What'd you text me, Vinny? What'd you say? We're going to get up to 50.
That's what I said. Just, put your foot on the gas and score 50.
Score 50.
I don't want to see them slowing down. And that's the problem, right? They don't know how to win. And that's really what it comes down to. So to answer your question, what did I do after they lost? I walked upstairs and had dinner. That's what I did, because, it's not something to the point where I'm so angry that I'm going to bash a TV or anything. It's, first of all, it's week 2. And there's nothing to look forward to when it came to them anyway. What upside have they shown in the last 20 years? That's really what it comes down to.
So you really feel it's like the same
but you're not shocked. There's not a Raiders fan out there who's a real Raiders fan that was shocked at what they saw. This is something that you expect to see all the time. It's all the time with this freaking team. And 20-0, 23-7 after the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. This team should have rolled against the Arizona Cardinals team who couldn't cover anybody the week before. They couldn't play defense. They couldn't play defense in the first half. And it's a Raiders team that doesn't know how to win. They don't know how to win. And Derek Carr admits that they don't know how to win. Well, you know what? You've been there a long time, Derek. Learn to win. We don't need you anymore. It's at the point where it's too much. You're guarding your number one receiver, your best friend, all this stuff, and you throw him 2 passes for 12 yards. That's the outcome of that game. And at 20-0, you don't worry about that. But when you're not throwing the guy the ball enough in the second half, and you're not scoring touchdowns to a guy that's getting $100 million, that's what we're paying the guy. He's supposed to be a guy you target 20 times a game, not 8, and throw him the ball. He's not throwing him the ball, and that's what we saw. And then you got a big tight end in Waller. Throw him the ball. I'm going to say this over and over again. And then Renfro fumbling left and right. It's just terrible. They try to blame the defense. Defense is out there too long, running after Murray. Murray's running all over the place. You're going to tire out. That defense has played well in both games. I'm not blaming the defense on either game. This is squarely on the offense's fault. Josh McDaniels needs to step up and figure some stuff out. Stop being, whatever he thinks this is. Get Derek Carr going. If not, get him out of there. It's enough. I'm just tired of seeing the same nonsense every week, every year, all the time. It's just sickening to watch. So I don't get mad. You know why? Because there's nothing to get mad about at the end of the game. I come upstairs and go, that's what we expect. We expect losers out there. It makes you feel like, what's the difference? This is what they're going to do. They're going to go in, and then they're going to go beat the Titans. They'll beat the Chiefs. They'll do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they'll throw up this big goose egg out of nowhere and not make the playoffs or do something ridiculous. So I don't know. I'm just tired of this team right now. So that's what I got to say.
That was some rant. But you still wear the Raiders shirt in pride.
Absolutely. I am still a Raiders fan. I will come back on the show in 2 weeks when we're 2-2 and tell you how we're gonna win the AFC West. We're gonna go into Buffalo and beat them in the AFC Championship game, and that's what I'm gonna tell you in 2 weeks. But as of right now, today, that's how I'm feeling. And to be honest, I didn't feel miserable after the game. And I tell you, a lot of it has to do with the history of the team.
Yes.
And I think you feel the same way sometimes, Mike, right? You lose so much and you don't really get overly, exuberated or whatever.
Kind of like numb to it.
Yeah. Like I get really upset when the Yankees lose because the Yankees have won so much. And I only expect them to be in the World Series. I don't have those expectations for the Raiders. I don't expect them to be in the playoffs or the Super Bowl. I want them to be there. I cheer for them to be there all the time. But when they don't make it, it's like, well, that's the team they are. It's, hey, we got to play Mahomes. We got to play Justin Herbert. We got to play Russell Wilson. Those are the excuses we make. But you know what? Those aren't good excuses because Derek Carr is supposed to be at that level too. Right. We want our quarterback to be the franchise. He's there. He was the first guy in the NFL to get paid that franchise big money. We kept him there. We continue to keep him here. He's been through every coach, right? Every GM, and he's still there. To me, this is it. If he has not got this team in the playoffs and winning a playoff game, I get rid of him. I'm just tired of the whole approach. And they better figure out how to get Davante Adams the ball. I want him targeted 20 times next game. I don't care. It's the Titans. They're terrible. You saw the way they played last night. They can't do anything on offense. Ryan Tannehill is worse than Derek Carr. You just pile 8 in the box and tell Tannehill, go ahead, try to beat us with rookie receivers and no A.J. Brown and nobody else on offense but Derrick Henry. So I expect the Raiders to come out and win that game by 10 points. I don't want to win. I want to win by 10. I want a double-digit win next week.
You make a great point because Davante Adams only got 10, I think they only 10 receptions. And instead of worrying about, Josh Jacobs and, what was he doing with rushing? Not a lot, right? And Brandon Bolden, you got to take advantage. That's why you have Davante Adams. You should be throwing it to him all the time. Use it to your advantage.
I don't understand. You can't have 2 catches for 12 yards. It just doesn't work.
No,
week one, he was good. It was a really good game, tough game against the Chargers in LA. Those are tough games. You understand those games, but you're at home. You're up 20-0 at halftime. That's why I said, foot on the pedal, score 50, and they scored 3 points in the second half. And, turnovers, mistakes, all this stuff, penalties. Kyler Murray is, he's a talented guy. When he learns to read defenses and actually study the playbook, he's going to be a top of the food chain kind of player because you can see he's just got a lot of talent. But he's, again, we're winning 20-0 at home. It's something that is just not. It's nothing to defend it at this point. I know it's week 2. The season is not over, even though you look at 0-2 teams and their playoff histories, it's not great. But it's 17-game season now. I know we got a way to go, but right now at this very moment, I don't feel anything good about this team.
Well, two things I want to say. I think it's the way you lose sometimes. It's the way that they lost. You're up 20. If they lost, let's say, and it was a close game throughout, I think fans would be a little more optimistic, but it's the way that you lost. Like you said, Vinny, you're up 20-3, right? And then in the second half, you become this team and do absolutely nothing and have a total downward spiral. That's what's so frustrating about it. It's the way that they lost, and it's the way that they're going into the next game, which is crazy. And that was we'll talk about later, but that was a trend of a lot of these games. There were a lot of huge comebacks. You have to put your foot on the pedal, as you said, and not play conservative football. You got to keep playing hard and make those passes and get your receivers out there and get leads and, stop playing conservative football. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Who asked if I threw something at my TV?
I'm not going to say.
You can't say a first name?
I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Well, whoever it was, the next time I'll come over their house and take my laptop and throw it at their TV. So
there
they feel better.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. And I like Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. I like what they're doing on defense. The secondary is playing well. I just, their defense is coming together. They're tackling, they're making plays. Some stupid mistakes there, holding penalties and all this other stuff that comes along with it. But ultimately, like I said, 20-0 at half, 23-7 going into the fourth quarter. Figure out a way to get another touchdown on there. Figure out a way to run clock and make a play on offense. You can't blame a team that lets up 2 touchdowns and 2-point conversions, late in the game that was just on the field constantly. There was a time, I think it's when Derek Carr got on the field in overtime. It was 7:45 Eastern time.
Right.
They put a stat up on the screen that he was previously on the field at 7:10 Eastern time. That's 35 minutes that he was not on the field. All right. What do you expect the defense to do?
Right.
We talk about it all the time. You say even with the Jets,
right, the first game.
You feel like those 3 and outs.
Yep.
no rhythm, no flow, and then the other team comes on and just takes advantage of that, and quick scores, and all the crazy stuff that happens, and those are the things that drive you. They drive you crazy. Your team is supposed to really step up in those situations. Your quarterback, especially, and we'll get into all this in a little bit, and really talk about your experience out there, and Joe Flacco, and some of these other NFL quarterbacks, and how good the Bills are looking right now, and a lot of different things that we're going to talk about coming up. But I just can't believe, at the end of the day, that the thing that bothers me the most is Devontae Adams again had 2 catches for 12 yards. I just can't fathom that. I just don't understand it against Arizona, who has one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Right. How do you not take
it? Just made no sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Zero. Unacceptable.
I mean, when you see a game like that, when you see that kind of game, like what were you thinking besides me throwing something at the TV?
I was just thinking, especially that fumble at the end. I just thought to myself, I just had a bad feeling when it went into overtime. I just said, it was just so frustrating on all levels because, like I said, it was the Raiders' game to lose, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, they had it in the palm of their hand. And I was just thinking, like, are you kidding me? And what you said with Kyler, he was just running side to side to side. And when your defense is on the field all that time, how are you going to keep up with that? So eventually it's going to go down, and eventually you're not going to be able to maintain that. So I had a feeling about it. I didn't want it to happen, but that's what I was thinking.
No, I got you. But let's jump over to your team and bring on our good friend from the New York Daily News beat writer, Antwan Staley. Antwan, how are you tonight?
I'm all right. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. You just missed my 15-minute rant about the Raiders and Derek Carr. So it's a good segue to go into the Jets and talk about something positive that came out of that, Antwan. How was the feel of the locker room after that comeback win?
You can imagine a lot of players were happy and overjoyed, especially getting a win like that. So yeah, it was definitely a much different locker room than what it was against the Ravens. But yeah, one that players were very excited and happy and joyful, and also I think encouraged because those type of wins usually don't happen to the Jets, and they feel like they could possibly go in the right direction.
Yeah, Antwan. I mean, you and I were both at the game, and not only did the Jets, I mean, just the fact that the onside kick, which is so hard to do, just the way the game happened at the end, it was such a momentum kick for the Jets. And I, as I told you when I texted you, I'm still in shock over it, how with less than 2 minutes, Corey Davis gets wide open. They're down by 6. The onside kick works. They have no timeouts, and they were still able to get to the end zone. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you think Nick Chubb had he went down, then obviously the game would have been over. But I think it's hindsight is 2020, and it's easy to say that now, especially considering usually those type of comebacks don't happen. 13 points down with less than 2 minutes to go. You're just thinking, oh, okay, he's just putting the game on ice, and the Jets will be 0-2 heading in the game against Cincinnati next week. But yeah, I mean, everything kind of, that Corey Davis touchdown, 66-yard touchdown, and then you're like, oh, okay, they need an onside kick. Yeah. And then the chances of that happening are very slim. And then, of course, that happened. And then, at that point, all bets are off because, you're just playing with house money. And, of course, Garrett Wilson had the big day and got another touchdown. But, yeah, it was just a crazy turn of events in a short amount of time.
Yeah, you know what else I was impressed about was just the pass protection that Flacco had throughout the game. The game against Buffalo, I mean, they were getting right to them. I noticed here also that he had pass protection, And on first down, he had the confidence to throw the ball, which was not happening against Baltimore. They were getting good yardage. And the other thing that I love was the fake punt, Salah's call on that. That was a huge momentum kick. I just felt the Jets were playing aggressive, good football. They're utilizing their receivers, and it was just great to watch on all levels.
Yeah, well, it's I thought there was a lot more creativity as far as play calling that particular game as opposed to the Ravens game where I just felt like it was kind of vanilla. But I thought the offensive line played much better in their second week together. Obviously the first week didn't go well because Joe Flacco kept landing on his back, and I thought the Ravens did a great job just putting great pressure right up the middle. They definitely, George Fant did a much better job. I thought Max Mitchell was pretty outstanding considering the circumstances there. Like I say, his second game as a pro, starting on the right side, and I thought he did a really good job, especially in the second half of them trying to limit Myles Garrett and limit the amount of damage that he was able to do. And Clowney being out of the game, I definitely think that helped too as well. But yeah, I thought all accounts the Jets offense was really good. The defense definitely still needs some work. You thought you saw some encouraging signs against the Ravens, but letting up that amount of rushing yards against the Browns, that's definitely something to kind of raise your eyebrows about. But they didn't come up with the win, so for them, they just have to go back to work and hopefully try to get a big time win against Cincinnati team that desperately needs one.
Yeah, I found it to be a real important win early in the season for the Jets, especially Robert Salah, after his taking receipts comment, which I think really backfired on him when he said that earlier last week. What was the thoughts for Coach Salah after the game, and his comments on the prior week?
Well, I don't think he necessarily had a whole lot in regards to those comments. Salah just decided, he said it what he meant at the time, and I think a lot of people kind of blew it up out of proportion. But I think the players really enjoyed it inside the locker room because they think they don't think they're the same team that they've been. Quite frankly, I'd ask some of the players. I know Michael Carter among them. For them, like they don't have any like. They're not the ones that been dealing with this losing streak for years, or they hadn't been there since 2010 or 2011 when the playoffs drought began. So this is new to them. This is a whole completely different team. Like a lot of those players weren't on the team. None of those players were on the team. So I think that's kind of their mindset. I mean, it's something that the fans are dealing with. We know they're not happy. Obviously, with the Jets, not making a playoff, have the longest playoff drought in the NFL, but I don't think it's a burden that the players are, taking. I just think that they enjoy Robert Saleh having those comments, and they definitely think they're not the same Jets team even than what they were a year ago. And from a roster standpoint, I don't think they are. I think they're a better team. We're basically seeing how well of a team they are, how much better they are. But I do think they are a better team roster-wise than what they were.
Yeah, Antwan, any new developments with Zach Wilson? I was told he would probably come back in the fourth game or so. How's he coming along?
Well, he's still practicing. Like they're gonna wrap up some practice time for him. But he didn't. Robert Saleh didn't say he's definitely gonna start against the Steelers in Game 4 of the season. So it's just one of those things. Like I guess we'll see from week to week. But right now, they're definitely gonna. I think wrap up. I don't think they want to necessarily announce anything because they don't want to get people excited or anticipating Zach Wilson coming back before it actually does happen. So he said he has to get the clearance from the doctors in order for that to happen. And, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing with Joe Flacco's game, the fans will take another week or two if he's going to continue to play like that, Flacco. But I tell you, I was really impressed with Garrett Wilson this week. To me, he runs routes like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. He has that same kind of style of body and that way that he hits those routes. What is the locker room feeling about the way Wilson played this week?
I mean, how could you not, enjoy that? I mean, he was the best receiver. I thought he was the best receiver on the field week 1. I just think they didn't play him enough. He only played 41 snaps against the Ravens, but that's what I felt like. And I wrote in my pregame article that, yeah, I mean, you got to find ways to get him the ball and keep him on the field because, he was the best receiver, and he proved that on Sunday and proved he was just a viable weapon for him that the Browns had trouble stopping. So, yeah, players, they know what Garrett Wilson can do. They've been talking about it throughout the course of training camp and the offseason program and obviously the preseason. And they feel like even though it's his second game in the league, they feel like can come in and produce, and he's been a consummate professional. And I don't think they're necessarily surprised at the success he had against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday.
Is Sauce Gardner okay? I know he sustained the injury.
He's fine. He came back into the game. Yeah, I think the only one as far as injuries, like CJ, he ended up obviously didn't play. He was inactive on Sunday, so he'll be another game time decision once again. So I think that's the only one that they have to kind of monitor and worry about.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, this Jets between LaMarcus Joyner, Quan Alexander, DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner. I mean, the Jets defense, I mean, yes, I think it was stronger against the Ravens, but they have so much potential, right? Their offense, it was funny because it was opposite, Antwan, as you were saying. I felt their offense was really prominent. The defense was kind of lagging. And hopefully against the Cincinnati team that's really hungry, we'll get it from both sides. But they definitely have the talent there for sure.
Yeah, I think if they're going to beat Cincinnati, they definitely have to have a better defensive performance because obviously they're struggling on the offensive side of the ball. Joe Burrow's been hit. He's been sacked 13 times in 2 games. So, and the Jets' pass rush has kind of been, I don't want to say non-existent, but it hasn't generated the pass rush I think Robert Saleh and his staff probably would like. So if this is any week to do that, I think this is definitely one of them against the Cincinnati offensive line that's really struggled early on this year. So I know Saleh doesn't necessarily like to blitz a lot, but in this instance, this might be a time where you want to see him, bring a little bit more heat. Just to create some, possible bad decisions by Joe Burrow, which we've seen early on this year between the Steelers game and also the Cowboys game too as well.
Yeah, I think Burrow is still, not ready for prime time yet due to that appendicitis injury or surgery or whatever you want to call it.
I think he's fine. Like, I just think when you're getting hit that many times, I don't care who you are. I mean, you're not going to be good. Like, the best quarterback in the league needs protection. So you're getting 13 sacks in 2 weeks. I mean, that's 6.5 sacks a game.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah, well, I think even last year he was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. And I think they tried to make the adjustments and they didn't. But yeah, I think you're right. They have to figure out a way to hit him and continue to do what the other 2 teams did. And I think if Flacco continues moving forward the way they are, and like Mike said, protecting him, and I think the Jets could potentially be 2-1. Something that's probably shocking for a lot of people around here.
Well, I had them going in their first 5 games because it's really a tough stretch. I had them going 2-3, so I could see that. I mean, if they beat Cincinnati, then I think they could beat the Pittsburgh Steelers too. I mean, Pittsburgh's not, their defense is good, but their offense is not anything necessarily right about. So. I'm not saying I'm going to pick them to win just yet, but, it's definitely, a possibility. The Dolphins game is division rivals are always, you never know. I mean, I know the Dolphins are playing real well, but, obviously, I'm sure the Jets would like to, win a divisional game for the first time in some time. So, and the way to do that is to, beat a hot Dolphins team. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. They're going to have some opportunities coming up. But, yeah, this is definitely a golden one to be able to get to 2-1 and over 500 for the first time since 2018.
Yeah, that's great. That's great news. All right, Antwan, we appreciate you spending some time with us like usual, and we will talk to you in a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Y'all take it easy.
Take care, Antwan. Thank you.
All right, Antwan Staley there from the New York Daily News, Jets beat reporter. So some interesting tidbits there. Even the locker room is feeling good about Garrett Wilson and all that. He really, I tell you, Mike, I watched him, and he to me, he really looked like a true number one. Just the way he handled himself, he has that smoothness that you see these receivers have. I think he's got a lot of upside, and we know Joe Flacco is just filling in the blanks now, but he did a really good job, and if he can hold it for another week or two until Zach gets back, I think there's a lot of upside there for the Jets team.
Yeah, listen, there's a tremendous upside. The difference this year is that he has people to throw it to. He has an offensive line. Like Zach Wilson did not have that this year. That's the exciting thing about the Jets. They really looked at each position very closely in the draft and selected players that are really going to help them. And we saw two different games against the Ravens. It was the defense was playing tremendously. This time was the offense that really got the Jets to where they needed to be. So as Antwan said, against Cincinnati, you really need that defense to step up and give Burrow a scare, and they got to get to him. And if they could do that and play the way, there's no reason why they can't win. So it's exciting. They needed that. The way the Jets win, and I was telling Vinny earlier that there's been times, a Jets win and everyone's so hyped up, and then the next week just everything falls apart. So Robert Saleh, he has to just keep them motivated. They got to come in with that confidence that they did with Cleveland and just go in and play this Bengals team who's so hungry because the way they lost their first two games, them going 0-3 after being in the Super Bowl seems unimaginable, but the Jets are coming off this huge win. So I'm really looking forward to this game. This is going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's take our little break here and get to our sponsors. NFL action is in full swing here at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Big plays and even bigger wins. New customers can just bet $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Mike, I know you were flying back. You had your earbuds in, right?
Yes,
your
sir.
Raycon wireless earbuds. You know why? Because they're your everyday earbuds. Look, feel, and sound better than ever. Optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. Raycons give you 8 hours of playtime, 32 hours of battery life, and they're priced just right. You get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 five-star reviews. They have the 3 customizable sound profiles, the earbud tap functions. They're great to listen to Vin and Mike. They're great to listen when you're taking trips. They're great to listen to when you're at a football game. So go to buyraycon.com today and use code TPPN15 to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's code TPPN15 at buyraycon.com to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com and use code TPPN15. So there we go. So very interesting stuff in the NFL, Mike. Let's dive into some teams that were really, really good this past weekend. And I think I'd like to start in the AFC. in the East and those Buffalo Bills. I mean, Josh Allen right now is just at a different level. When I saw last night, I know we talked about that -10 going into that game. We thought that was still a good bet, and it turned out to be an unbelievable bet anyway, right? I mean, they just totally annihilated Tennessee. Josh Allen was out of the game before the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just unbelievable the pace they're at. I think they finally punted last night. I think they have one punt in 2 games. I mean, they're just right now. If you're going to put a big bet down right now, I'm guessing you're betting on Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. I mean, some of your thoughts on your AFC counterpart there.
Yeah. So listen, they dominated at the very beginning of the game. Tennessee was somewhat competitive, but I mean, they just took over the game. And Stephon Diggs is absolutely incredible the way he gets open. And the thing with the Bills is that they have so many different people. I mean, they have so many different ways of between the rushing and passing, and just it's just incredible to watch them. And Allen to go out down the field and his vision of the field, like he just knows, screen, long pass, run. They just have it down pat, and they have so many different people they can utilize. And just watching that, it was just like it was a massacre. It was crazy, and they're showing that from the preseason that this is the best team in football, and we are the team to beat. And I mean, that's what they're showing on the field. It was an incredible display.
Yeah, when you talk about number one receivers, Stephon Diggs is just amazing. He's just always open.
He's like Cooper Kupp. He reminds me of Cooper Kupp, Vin. He always finds a way just to be open and it's just amazing what he could do with that. He reminds me of him so much.
He just does all those things, and you're right. These top receivers they just find a way to make things happen. And when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen and the Bills defense, which is one of the top-rated defenses in the NFL, there's going to be a tough team to beat. It's going to, the AFC is a pretty loaded division, but you could just see they're just like that one step ahead of. I think they're just one step ahead of everyone. We'll see once they play Kansas City. That's a huge game. It looks like that'll be another collision course somewhere in the playoffs. We'll see if Josh Allen can finally beat Pat Mahomes in a playoff game and go in that direction. But definitely someone that's just been like super, super talented guy. They took a chance on him when they drafted him. He was coming out of Wyoming. They thought he was a project kind of first-round draft pick, which he was. And they just turned him into this all-pro, all-world quarterback who, continues at this rate, is going to be a Super Bowl winner and just make his case for Canton, Ohio that quickly, because you could just see it, right? He's just got that ability, and you're just waiting for that season for him to just, take over the league. I'm hoping it's, 20 years from now, and, the Raiders can win before then, but, we know what's going to happen there. Our good friend, the golf guru Anthony, he texted me about the lack of quarterback play in the NFL. When we talk about Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts and Tua and Brady, right? These are the teams that are 2-0 in the quarterback play. Brady's not been great, but he's still Tom Brady. But the other guys are just, playing at elite level. And Daniel Jones, Giants 2-0, he's played well enough for them to win, right? Barkley's been great, but he's not made the big mistakes. He's doing the little things to help. But
he's doing what's needed to win. He's not doing anything that's over the top, but he's getting his team to get a W.
Right, and and then you look at some of these teams that are 0-2, right? The Falcons with Marcus Mariota, the Panthers with Baker Mayfield, the Titans with Ryan Tannehill. We know the problems Joe Burrow is having getting sacked. We talked about Derek Carr and 0-2 start. Then you look around the league at Carson Wentz and Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith.
Right.
It's just there's just a lot of these guys that don't give you a warm and fuzzy. It's hard as a fan of these teams to think, this is going to be the guy that's going to lead me to the Super Bowl. I mean, you look at it and you can't feel good enough that you're going to win a Super Bowl or have an opportunity to go if you don't have that elite quarterback. And right now, I think we're at a time in the NFL where we have a lot of A-rated kind of quarterbacks and a lot of guys that are down below. There's no one that you sit there and goes, well, he's okay, and he might get us to a Super Bowl, right? Maybe that was, he's good, like Matt Stafford, right? That was the thing would always happen. He's good, but is he going to get us to a Super Bowl? I don't know. Is there anyone that you look at and go, he's good, but is he going to get us to a Super Bowl? For me, I don't see anyone like that. You're either going to be this elite kind of guy and make things happen, or you're not, and your team's just not going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not the only one that really stands out to me, Vinny, is Josh Allen right now, and maybe Patrick Mahomes, just the way he gets his team down the field. I mean, Tom Brady's struggling with that offense right now. It's very frustrating, right? And Green Bay, yes, they had a great game against the Bears, but does Aaron Rodgers have what it takes? I don't know. Is Stafford going to get them back to Super Bowl caliber team? I'm not seeing a lot right now. And Geno Smith, I laugh because that first game, the media made him look like Josh Allen, and then his true colors came out this weekend. So it's just again, the only thing I'll say as a saving grace is that week 2 is just completed. There's so much of the season left. Hopefully some of these guys can come back to life. But as a case right now, the dominant team right now is the Buffalo Bills. They've been consistent. They are a team that I think is the preseason. They were the team to pick to win the Super Bowl, and they're certainly showing that. And we have to see what these other teams bring. But I'm not seeing any kind of close comparisons right now. You agree with me?
Yeah, I think after last night, a lot of people went on the DraftKings app and put a future Super Bowl Bills Eagles after watching last night. And we'll see. Justin Herbert, I think, has ability. He got hurt in that last game, so I'm not really sure how his ribs are going to feel going forward. But he's a guy that you look at potentially could take that next step to being elite. But you got to get to the playoffs. You got to win playoff games, right? You look around the league, right? Like we always talk about Kyler Murray. It's like you got to win a playoff game, Kyler. You got to get there. You got to do things. You got all this talent, but you got to get there.
Right.
Lamar Jackson. You got to continue to take those next steps to get your Ravens, to a Super Bowl. These guys want to get paid $50-60 million a year, but again, look around the league. How many guys have Super Bowl rings? Right? The list gets shorter and shorter every year. It would have got real short if Tom Brady retired. It's just that there's only a few guys that are out there that have that elite level. Yeah. And like you said, the way Josh Allen's playing and the way Pat Mahomes has played the last 4 years, it's hard for these other AFC quarterbacks to make that next step. Yeah. But if you want to be that big guy, you have to do it. Every year, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady played each other, but Ben Roethlisberger squeezed in there a few times, right? Because, he showed, what kind of quarterback he was. Giant fans, don't realize how good Eli Manning was in big games. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The guy was phenomenal. He beat Tom Brady twice in Super Bowls, and got his team there by going into Green Bay 2 times. John Codman can tell us, he beat Favre and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay to get to Super Bowls. It's those are the things that, you don't have to be this Tom Brady win every year. That's once in a lifetime kind of guy, but you got to show that you got the ability to get there. and win big games when it matters. And that's what I look at with a lot of these quarterbacks. And right now, there's not a lot of them out there. Just not.
I just want to say one thing, that I see the NFL as one of the hardest sports to make the playoffs because, well, now you have 17 games, but you've seen in previous years, even when you're 9-7, you don't necessarily get into the playoffs, right? So these quarterbacks also, it's just getting to the playoffs and being able to rise in the playoff. Who has the heart, right? So you look at the Bradys, you look at the Mahomes, you look at the Rodgers, right? And I say that's why it's so hard to evaluate right now, because certain people rise at certain occasions, Vinny. And I just think that we have so much season left to really, see this right now. But as we look at this, only 2 games was such a short segment that people should look at Josh Allen and say, can I get to this level? Can I get to a Patrick Mahomes level? That's what you have to look at right now. But my point is that some of these teams that may get in, all of a sudden you see them rise, like Joe Burrow last year. I mean, that guy played with such heart, that team. Sometimes it takes something for a team just to get to that next level. So we'll have to see how the season pans out. There's so much more to see. I mean, I laugh at this, but look at even Joe Flacco in week 2. Like, that was awesome to see that performance from him, right? Because he wasn't even on the radar week 1. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it takes 1 week just to get out of that zone and start playing to your potential. So let's see where we are at week 4 probably, or week 5, first quarter of the season, and have another conversation about this, because I think we'll definitely see some changes for sure.
Well, if I was a team playing the Vikings, I would blitz Kirk Cousins all the time, because for some reason he likes to just fold up and throw the ball up in the air, and he threw multiple picks just thinking that I'll just close my eyes and throw the ball up in the air.
Yeah, hard to watch.
Awful performance last night by the Vikings, but I just don't want to kill them, and all that. So I'm looking. I brought out our list of our bets here. Well, my bets. Okay. And I got annihilated on my both money lines. I had Steelers and Saints, which I should know better to trust either one of those quarterbacks. Trubisky.
But their defense have kept them in for a while in those games.
Yeah, but you need to score. You got to win games.
That's the problem.
You're at both teams were at home. Come on, But I was happy about our Lions pick. I like that they were home back-to-back weeks early in the year. Their offense really showed. I think Jared Goff is showing a little bit, but again, he's a guy that's been to the Super Bowl. Remember, people forget that. He didn't play the best game, probably one of the worst Super Bowls ever, but they got there. And, that offense is flying a little bit. Amon St. Brown looks like, he could be, the all-time leader in receptions by the end of this season, the way he catches everything. But, yeah, I like the Lions. We loved the Packers, me and you did, -9.5. We felt, we felt the Bears were somebody that really overachieved week 1. You could tell they're in a real big rebuilding mode there on both sides of the ball. We felt going into Green Bay, especially the way the Packers played week 1. We know they did the same thing last year. And then, Aaron Rodgers just plays very well against the Bears like he always does. And we thought that was a good one, -9.5. Falcons, Rams, I had the over at 46.5. Yes. I felt that would be the kind of game where the Falcons would score and the Rams would score a lot, and basically what happened. And then last night, I thought we were good, 24-7 at halftime. I felt, the Vikings maybe will find a way to get going. The Eagles will score a lot more here. Originally it was at 50.5. It went down to 49. We were talking a little bit about that yesterday. Why it dropped 1.5? Maybe weather, maybe some other things. But I'm guessing those people that were betting the under definitely made out, because the game ended 24-7. So basically 3-3 on my picks this past week, but we did hit our best bet, which was Packers -9.5. So I'll give myself an extra star there. So
absolutely
3 for 3 with the extra star.
Yeah, no, and we combined our picks, so I was just happy that Green Bay was our best bet. I think that's fun to do. And as I said, Vinny, the Detroit Lions are an improved franchise. They're fun to watch. They competed with the Eagles, and I think they're playing the Vikings this weekend, so that'll be a true test. Vikings are going home, so we'll see. Also, our buddy Anthony just wrote about Tua, seeing if that guy, seeing if he's what kind of guy he is in the next couple of weeks. They're playing the Bills this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that matchup, an AFC East early matchup. What kind of team is Miami? Do the Bills blow them out? It would be very interesting. Then you really start to see some trends. What kind of Miami team are we going to see, right? Just like the 49ers, right? They got destroyed the first week against the Bears, and then look what happens, right? So you start to see who these teams really are, who represents them, and where their future really is. So NFL's the best. It really is.
I just want to let you know that Anthony's team in our fantasy league lost this week, and I won. So we're both 1-1 now.
Well, I know he picked on you last week, so now you have bragging rights.
Yep. So now, even though he beat me last week to go 1-0 and 0-1, but now we're even. So we're going into week 3. He's already in panic mode. He doesn't know who's going to be his quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, or defense this week coming out.
Yeah.
So he's going to make 14 trades and pick up 32 guys, but it's okay. He'll get it together and feel better when Sunday comes rolling around.
Yeah.
He is. I will tell you, he is the most active fantasy football manager / player you'll ever play against in your life. He will try his hardest to build the best team possible. He is someone that will basically waive his entire team that he drafted and have all new guys with trades and everything. But he does everything in his power to try to win every week. And then he's a future thinker. He tries to set his team up for the finals and the semifinals and all that stuff as well. So I got to pay very close attention to what he does all year, and I got to make sure that I keep tabs on him. But the team he played this week basically had 3 guys score 120 plus points, and that team was our good friend Bart that beat Anthony this week.
So, Bart did?
Yeah, his team scored like 180 points or something. It was ridiculous. It was like off the chart. So, but I tell you, we're gonna get you in it next year, Mike. We want you to come into the league next year.
Okay. I'll consider it. Sure.
We'll make sure Anthony will fund your entry since he'll win this year. So.
Thanks, Anthony.
We've been going at this since April, and I think it's only right that we continue to talk about our Yankees, our Mets, our Aaron Judge, our Jacob deGroms, and all of that. But it's almost October. I have my nice little bet Subway Series, so yes. I'm getting excited that the Mets have clinched a playoff spot. The Yankees are right there. Aaron Judge, 59 home runs. I think he's going to hit 62, 63. Who knows? Some people say 65, but I think he will set the Yankees record, surpass Roger.
He may set out with the Pirates tonight. He may hit 3 tonight.
That's true. He might hit 3 tonight. But in all seriousness, I feel the Yankees made a terrible trade getting this Montez guy. I think getting rid of Montgomery is hurting them a little bit. They need Luis Severino back. They need Garrett Cole to be better in these games. The bullpen has to get better. They got to get healthy for this October run. I will feel good if they once they clinch and get that 2 seed and get that bye and win that first round of playoffs and go into that ALCS, most likely against the Astros. At that point, I'm going to feel confident and better that we can go in and beat the Astros and get to the World Series. And I feel the same exact way with the Mets. I want them to win the division, get the bye, win their first round game, and then play the Dodgers in the NLCS. And at that point, when they're both in those positions, which I expect them both to be, I'm going to have a lot of confidence that a Subway Series is coming, and I'm going to hit my Subway Series bet.
Yeah. Come on. You've been talking about this for a long time. I just want to say about the Mets since we last spoke about them last. Remember we talked about Jeff McNeil? And what I love now is that, he was batting 6th or 7th. They moved him to the 3rd slot. We talked about this, how here's a guy who's hitting constantly. Get him up there. So now you have, I think, Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, and Alonso, Vogelback. I mean, their lineup is stacked. I mean, I really like what Buck Showalter did with that move.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And it was Marte injury driven, right?
Correct. It had to take an injury for that to happen.
Yeah. So now, what happens when Marte comes back? Is he going to drop him to 6th again? I think that'll drive everyone crazy. Just like tonight, I looked at the Yankee lineup and I put it down after I started leading off Aaron Judge. I don't know the rest of the lineup because that still drives me crazy every time I see it. I understand you want to get him more at bats and all this stuff, but I want to see him come up with men on base.
Yes.
I'm tired of him leading off, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I can't. I'm not arguing analytics anymore. I know it makes a lot of sense, but I think sometimes baseball instincts make sometimes a little bit more sense, right? How you feel that day. How does that player feeling? Where are they at that point in the season? I think all that has to play in it as well. Guy's got a hot hand. Guy's confident. The guy doesn't have a back injury, a knee injury, and all that other stuff makes you want him in different parts of the lineup, right? So analytics doesn't always give you every little answer, especially when it comes to the human body and the mindset, right? It's almost like horse racing, right? You bet because this horse has shown 22 second quarter miles and all this stuff, but you don't realize that when he's walking on that track, that the bottom of his left back freaking hoof has got a hole in it, and he hasn't told anyone yet because he's not limping or anything until he sprints out of that freaking gate and ran a 27 quarter, and what the hell happened here? This guy was 4-1 and his foot is messed up. But it's the same thing. These guys using analytics for stuff, but those little things aren't part of the analytics. It's just not. They don't build it in. So I just want to see once in a while, let's just think a little bit, outside the box here. And, maybe Aaron Judge could bat 3rd once in a while. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
change it up. Why not?
What do you think about Jake DeGrom giving up the 3-run homer the other night? And any concerns about him as we start getting into October? Do you think he's just still building up that arm?
He's building up that arm. You can't get too concerned. I mean, these things are going to happen, Vinny. He is a phenomenal pitcher. He has a slider like nobody else, and he'll be ready for October baseball. Mark my word.
Yeah, I give Buck credit. I heard it the other day that he actually has it set up already for Bassett, DeGrom, and Scherzer against the Braves for that final 3-game series. So it's already, the way he has things set up, he's preparing for the Mets to having to win that series. So the best thing that could happen to Mets is be up by 3 with those 3 left and win the first game with Bassett, and then rest DeGrom and Scherzer
until playoffs. That's the best scenario, 100%. Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. You get paid to play, so especially Scherzer getting really paid, and DeGrom's going to opt out and get really, really paid soon.
Yeah. Like
Aaron Judge, who, as my brother said, every home run he hits, we throw in a couple million more. So he says he's at 15 years, $1 billion now on his next contract.
Give the guy what he wants. He deserves it.
No matter what happens, and I'm going to say this, no matter what happens the rest of the year, if the Yankees do not re-sign Aaron Judge, they are going to be, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I don't know if I want to be a Yankee fan anymore after that. They could win the World Series, and they don't sign Aaron Judge. I might just have to give up my fandom. I might have to become a let me think, a Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
You know you're not. You're just huffing and puffing. Stop it.
I just want to sign them. Can we sign them?
They will.
I know our friend Steve is going to be very upset when they give him a 12-year deal. Why are we paying him until he's 42?
He's the most pessimistic Yankee fan I've ever met.
I'm only going to give him 5 years.
It's a good old
$20 million.
We're getting close, but I wanted to say happy 40th, my podcast partner. 40 episodes. We started this 9 months ago.
Yep.
And just it's just incredible, the progress, the humor, the sponsors, our fans like Anthony over there and Mr. Codman that keeps us going. So this is, people ask me like, what do you love about the podcast? It's essentially I get to talk sports with one of my best friends every week and goof around and really make talk about our analysis, do our NFL picks, and talk strategy. And we have different kinds of guests on every week. It's great having Antwan on to talk about the Jets. I mean, who would have thought that would happen? The guy was in Oregon doing Oregon football, and now he came here to do the Jets job, and we get to have him on our show every other week. It's been awesome. So congrats to us, 40 episodes. Anything you like to say about the Big 4-0 this week?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that we sat down waiting for a couple friends of ours at the bar, at the steakhouse, watching the Knicks game. I think the Knicks were on. Maybe it was the Rangers, one of the two. I don't remember exactly. Maybe they both were on. And you said to me, would you ever think of doing a podcast? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, let's talk about it and make sure, we do everything the right way and everything. And if I'm right, that was like November, December of last year. And our plan was to launch the show on Super Bowl weekend, have a big first Super Bowl show. But we did our test run in early January. We liked the way we had everything set up. We had the software. We had everything planned. And we launched a few weeks before that. But I wouldn't be doing this 9 months later if it wasn't for you asking me, if I'd be interested in doing it. So I appreciate you asking me. I really enjoy, getting to know the different people we've gotten to know over these 9 months, people that I'd never thought we'd have conversations with. Renee Washington, Richmond Webb, Gus Farrat, Lori Warren, from Richmond Raceway. Like you said, Antwan, who's now a Jets beat reporter. All our friends that we've had on in various shows, people that you've known through the years that you got to meet. And, now my good friend Anthony and people that you've gotten to meet and all that. So I think it's brought together, not just, for us to do what I always tell people we do for an hour a day before we did the podcast was just talk on the phone about sports, especially during COVID and everything. But now we bring it in front of a pretty cool audience, got to meet a lot of people, part of a nice network, good people that we've met at the network, and sponsors, Raycon and DraftKings and Viggy Betts and all that stuff that we've done, and just very appreciative of all that. And it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to another 40 episodes. We'll get to episode 50 before we know it. Eventually, episode 100. We'll eventually do live remotes, like we said. We're definitely planning on that going into next year as things grow and bringing on more things. Excited about where the Pigskin Podcast Network is moving ahead. We know that they had some things planned when we originally talked to them. So looking forward to that day we can announce that to our audience and all that as well. So yeah, it's just been great, and And thanks to everybody that tunes in. I know we have a lot of people that strictly watch us on YouTube, and a lot of people that strictly listen to us on Spotify and Apple and other various things. And when we see our stats, and there's people from around the world, our friends in Arizona, our people out in Kansas City, there's just so many different people that we've gotten to know, and it's been great so far. And I look forward to what we're going to continue to do.
Well, with that said, we'll see you on the Pick Show later in the week. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time.